the heart of Sydney's Central Railway Station, two old friends reunite, one having travelled from near Newcastle, the other all the way from Denmark.
I haven't seen you for 4 or 5 years. 5 years. Yes, but you're looking great.
At the Anzac Memorial in Hyde Park, mates and comrades meet for a commemorative service. These are friendships that have flowed for half a century. Friendships forged in one terrible event at sea.
It was the greatest peacetime tragedy that the Navy's ever been through and hopefully will ever have to go through.
On the night of February 10th, 1964, the destroyer HMAS Voyager was involved in exercises with the aircraft carrier HMAS Melbourne, about 20 nautical miles off the southern coast of New South Wales. For reasons that 2 royal commissions and decades of questioning never got to the bottom of, something went disastrously wrong. The Voyager and the Melbourne collided.
Yes, there's quite a solid thump when two ships hit together.
How could it happen? Somebody took their eye off the ball is probably the best way to put it. It looks as though Voyager just didn't have enough room to do the manoeuvres that it thought it could do at the time. But we will probably really never ever know.
Lindsay Shaw is a former senior curator at the Australian National Maritime Museum.
Bridge right up there.
So where would the Melbourne hit?
The Melbourne would have hit us right here. Just around about this point here because it hit just aft of the bridge.
We're standing on HMAS Vampire, a sister ship of the Voyager. And how fast was the Melbourne coming?
Melbourne was coming at approximately 22 knots. An aircraft carrier literally looming out of the dark. It sliced Voyager in two, and the bow section went down one side and the stern section went down the other.
Well, there's just the wrenching of the metal. You could actually hear the metal tearing.
George Bluey Ducker was a 17-year-old serving on his first ship. He'd just come off watch and was relaxing in the back section of the Voyager when he felt the impact and scrambled to the deck.
Off in the distance I could just see a dark shape, and I assumed we may have hit a merchantman, because it didn't enter my mind that was what I could see was the bow section of the ship.
One of those in Voyager's front section was Len Price.
I could probably say honestly that I was almost, or even the last person to actually leave the forward section alive.
How did you get out?
Out of an escape hatch.
Many didn't or couldn't escape. In all, 82 lives were lost. One of those killed was Kevin Cullen, a father of 4 who'd been with his family just before boarding the ship.
He said, wave me goodbye out the back steps, which we did, and like he walked out of our lives, and that was the end of it.
Coral Cullen found out about the disaster not from the Navy, but her neighbours.
My third daughter this day says you can still hear me screaming.
Inga Price, the wife of a Royal Navy officer, David Price, who was on exchange in Australia, also found out about the disaster not officially, but via one of their 4 young children.
My eldest daughter, Caroline, she was 5 and she could read. She brought the paper in and she recognised the name Voyager. And she said, what's that, Mummy? I said, Voyager sunk.
Like Coral Cullen, Inga Price had an agonising wait before finally learning that her husband was dead. And then she said the Australian authorities wanted her to leave the country within days.
And I wanted to stay for the memorial service, but no go.
You weren't allowed to stay for the memorial service?
No. They wanted me out of the country as soon as possible. I didn't realise why at that time. I still don't know, really.
Just a month after the disaster, Coral Cullen was told to vacate the family's defence home.
No house to go to, left with 4 kids under there for 9, 5, 3 and 22 months old. Had to find a house for myself. Not easy.
The survivors were given little time to recover and no counselling.
It was just like, say, the attitude. You toughed it out, which they did, but a point come in their lives where they couldn't tough it out anymore.
A very traumatic time, that's all I can say. It took many years to condition myself to not fall apart at the slightest thing.
For the survivors and the victims' loved ones, there have been legal battles for compensation and dealing with the unanswered questions of why the disaster happened.
That's the nightmare we all live with. It's the unanswered questions and the way we were treated by the Navy as a whole.
The Navy points out it has come a long way since then in managing critical incidents and supporting service people and their loved ones.
They have no grave but the cruel sea. No flowers lay at their head.
For those who lived through the Voyager disaster, all that happened and all they lost are still painfully with them.
For 35 years, I swore that I'd never set foot in Australia again.
Inga Price did return and is visiting once more from Denmark for the 50th anniversary services to honour her husband and the others who died and to be with friends. What are you hoping for from this anniversary?
I'm hoping to close it.
I agree with that. Yeah, maybe this is the closure will, even though they never found her husbands.
No.
This will be a closure for it.
Yes.
There was no glory in what happened to us, but 82 lives were lost, and I feel they should be remembered.